welcome to this edition of Going Deep with me, Richard Mills, and we have, I know I say all our guests are special, but this really is a special guest, Joe Magsaysay, the founder and chief grower of Potato Corner, such an outrageous success around the world. I gotta say, I never thought I would see the day so early that Philippines has become an exporter of concepts such as this. So welcome to you, Joe Magsaysay. Really glad to have you with us today.
Thank you, Richard. And it's nice to be here with you.
Very good. And Joe Magsaysay, just for some background, he built his company from scratch. We'll hear about that. I read he started with 150,000 pesos of capital. And today they have 1,300 or so branches worldwide, now known as the world's best flavored fries. So, Joe, maybe if we could start off, if you could tell a short history of your career from your side of the story, and a bit of background about who you are.
Thank you. Well, Potato Corner started in 1992, but a lot of people don't know that I've been in the food business for 10 years before Potato Corner. So I started in the food industry with as a working student at Wendy's, Philippines.
Okay.
And that's where I learned about operations, and most important, that's where I learned how to cook fries properly. So then you're right. We started with 150,000 pesos in 1992. And me and 3 other partners just said, maybe let's create something that we can eventually augment our income from. And so we did. So each of us brought out 37,500 pesos to come up with 150,000 pesos. And I didn't even have that money. So I even had to borrow 37,500 pesos in 1992.
Wow. And so maybe if you could tell us, Joe, the scale of your franchisees and operations. Can you, just so people understand, there's many people who might not know everything about it.
Well, today we have 1,400 stores.
Okay.
In 14 countries. Of course, most of them are in the Philippines, but more than 200 of them are outside the Philippines. These are more than 100 stores in Indonesia, 60 stores today in Thailand.
Okay.
We have our US operations. Canada is there. So we're opening soon in Bangladesh. We're opening soon in Tibet. So exciting. Singapore is doing very well in spite of the pandemic. Myanmar, although it's in lockdown, we've reopened our stores in Myanmar. So
wow.
The global expansion of Potato Corner is very exciting. In fact, we're proud and we're thankful to everybody because we're able to export the Potato Corner brand, which originated in the Philippines, outside the Philippines. And and I know for a fact that it's not easy to expand a Filipino brand outside the Philippines, especially in the food business, because the Philippines is not known yet as an exporter of brands. No, so we can export within the Philippines. Our playing field is really the Philippines for local brands, especially in the food business, but only a handful of brands are outside the Philippines and are trying to grow outside the Philippines. So we're thankful for that, and we really we're just maybe lucky that our product is French fries. Nothing can be more global than French fries. So everybody, well, thank you to McDonald's, thank you to Burger King, thank you to Jollibee for making French fries a staple food all over the world.
Yes, okay. And now, Joe, when you started though, did you have the idea for franchising from there? How did you come up with the concept of franchising? Was this something you started with, or did you gradually move into it?
Well, when we started, like what I said a while ago, I had to borrow money, and my other partners had to borrow money also.
Okay.
In fact, it was only Ricky who had money. So three other partners, including me, had to borrow money. So from the very start, we lacked capital. So
Yes.
the problem is when we opened the first store, it paid back in 30 days. So wonderful. But we had to pay. We had to pay our loans or the people we borrowed from. So we didn't have money to open the next store, the second store. In fact, we had offers already, and there were several people who said, "Can I borrow your idea? Can we put up another store like this?"
Hmm.
So, and because I understood something about franchising because of my background at Wendy's, you know, I said, maybe let's franchise. And there were no franchise consultants in the Philippines yet. There was no Front Corp yet.
Okay.
The Philippine Franchise Association wasn't organized yet. So we researched, and we came up with a decent way to franchise on our own terms, and we did. The second store was already a franchise, and that's the beginning of our growth and our franchise. The second store was already a franchise. And the reason why it was easy for us to do that, because our core, because it's my core, and my core is also what the core of the company is sharing and giving. Richard,
Yep.
the end of 2019, our franchisees had the aggregate net income of more than 300 million.
Oof.
We could
Wow.
have we could have owned that 300 million if we made everything company owned. But because our core is sharing and giving, that's okay. We want micro entrepreneurs to be happy. We want them to succeed. We want micro entrepreneurs to flourish in the Philippines. So we gave and we shared. That's why up to today, in our system, 80% of our stores are still franchise operated. And we wish to continue that business model because it's a very resilient model, especially during times of crisis. During the Asian economic crisis in 2000, in early 2000 or the late 90s,
Yep.
we were hit. We were hit hard. We had 100 by the start of the Asian economic crisis, Richard. We had 120 stores.
Did you?
After the Asian economic crisis hit, we were left with less than 40 stores.
Oh God.
Those 40 stores were operated by franchisees. You know, so that's why I highly recommend franchising as an area for growth because every time there's a crisis, who takes a bullet for us, who takes care of us,
Yeah.
our partners, our franchisees.
Okay.
So it's wonderful. The franchising is a wonderful business model. It keeps you very resilient during times of crisis, provided, of course, that you take care of your franchisees.
Absolutely. Good work. That's exciting. And now, Joe, I read somewhere that you had different franchise concepts in the early years, but you decided to focus on your flavored fries. Why did you make that decision? What's special about flavored fries, and what was not right about the other ones?
Well, Potato Corner is what you call, in Tagalog, they call it chamba or luck. Or maybe another word for chamba is luck. It was just luck that we were able to put a Potato Corner. It grew, and it was very good for us. And we realized that in order to continue to make the brand strong, it's so hard to make a business work right. Maybe it takes. I learned from Harvard. There's one out of 29 chances of success. So
Wow.
we realized that we have to treasure the goose that lays the golden egg. So we said to ourselves, maybe let's focus on just one thing first. It's nice to be a multi-brand company, but let's first take care, make sure we're in a global position to say we're okay. Then maybe we can restart again these other brands. It's like, for me, I read an article before that, for example, when you're driving a car, when you're just driving, Richard, your IQ, your 100% of your IQ is in driving. That means you can anticipate what's going to happen. You can see about 200 feet or 300 feet away and anticipate something that will cross the street. Then when you get to where you're going, you remember what street you passed. You remember if there was somebody selling balot on the side of the street. You remember if there was a McDonald's or a Jollibee that you passed. Those are the things you do because 100% of your IQ is in driving. You know everything. You can anticipate things. But the moment you pick up your phone and start texting, that means 50% of your IQ now is in driving. 50% of your IQ now is in texting. So it means you lose your ability to to anticipate crisis.
Yeah.
You lose your ability to remember what you street you passed. You lose the ability to remember the things, the beautiful things that are happening all from where you came from to where you went. So now that's what we realize. It's important to focus on one thing first. And we still have those other brands, but
Oh, you
it's
do?
just there.
Okay.
We're not pushing them. It's just there. Uh, we're ready to grow them when we like. And we still focus up to today on Potato Corner, especially during this crisis. Imagine if we didn't focus on one thing during a pandemic like this, during a crisis like this, you might compromise the goose that lays the golden egg.
Yeah. Okay. And now, starting your own business, Joe, at that early time, I mean, I understand you were working, yeah, in the industry like you described, but what made you want to start your own business? Was it your friends? Was it what was the reason for that?
Well, I was just starting my family back then in 1992, so I needed a way to augment my income.
Okay.
That was the
That's
main reason why. In fact, before even Potato Corner, I was already selling empty boxes of cartons that I bought from Wendy, sold them in a junk shop in Bulacan. So I did those sorts of things. And then I was invited by three friends to say, Joe Mag, can you join us? And we're going to put up a concept called Potato Corner, selling flavored French fries, which which was a spin-off from one of our partners with flavored popcorn, and it was doing very well. So one of the partners, George, said, "Well, maybe let's put flavor on French fries," and so we did. And then we started in 1992. A few months, just maybe 3 months, our second store was a franchise already. And
hmm,
in 2 years, we grew to 70 stores. Thank you to franchising.
holy wow. Now, Joe, how come you can grow that fast? I mean, a lot of other companies, might take them 10 years more than to grow like that. What was special about your opportunity that people wanted to really be a part of it?
Well, I think I think our business model is very simple. We only have product. It's easy to control. It's easy to watch. Operationally, it's easy to run. And
Okay.
I think the reason why we grew was because our franchise packages were low. Our net income margins of our franchises were very high. And then the other thing is we didn't, although we strived for to improve, we didn't we didn't we didn't focus on perfection. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as perfection, but there is a strive to improve always the operations and in the business. So improvement, fine tuning is our quest, not perfection. And because it's not perfection that we're looking for when we grow, we allow everybody to participate in our growth, in our profits also. So the moment you say it's okay. We're not perfect, but we will improve with you. Together we'll improve with our franchisees. Then you start growing because you release control. It's like flying a kite. You release your hold on the string, then the kite will keep on flying higher and higher. Okay. Once in a while you tug it once in a while, but let go. And I think that's how businesses will grow. You just have to let go, and your business will flourish.
Okay. And now, Joe, you mentioned that the business is easy to run and easy to understand and so forth. Something that you hear a lot of, and I'm sure you must have had this early on, but did you worry that somebody or others might copy what you do? They might take, how do you prevent that? Like what holds you together, so to speak? And why wouldn't a franchisee say, oh, I like Joe, I like his thing, but I think I'll just do it. I'll just do it myself without your brand. How do you prevent that?
Well, you're right. I agree with you, Richard. That happens a lot. So, uh, the way we handle that is, again, back to franchising.
Yeah.
Because of franchising, we were able to grow rapidly. During our first 2 years, Richard, of Potato Corner, we started counting those who copied flavored French fries, and there were
Oh,
more than 300 outlets of different brands that sold flavored French fries in the first 2 years of Potato Corner. But
oh,
because we were the only one franchising, we were the only one who let go and shared our business model and our profits. We were the only one who said to ourselves, let's just be everywhere and not concentrate. And let's not wait for to be perfect before we franchise. A lot of people wait for to be perfect or to
yeah.
fix everything first before they start franchising. I think you'll never be able to grow that with that kind of mindset. But that's okay. Some people are just happy with a few stores, and that's okay. But for us, we just wanted to grow rapidly and share our business model to everyone. So, and I think the way we blocked off competition was to grow rapidly. And in this business, although we were the first in flavored French fries, you are not perceived as the first mover in any industry if you don't become the dominant player immediately. So the
See.
our to us the ingredient was to grow rapidly to achieve market dominance and numbers, so that in spite of competition, you become the perceived first mover, and you become the brand image of the product.
I see. Okay, interesting. That's interesting, Joe. Now, Joe, it's just such such an interesting thing that you became such a real export um, concept and a success, and it's really quite it's quite impressive. I gotta tell you now. But how did that come about? Did you actively pursue franchisees in other countries, or did people come to you and say, we want to set up in Thailand, Indonesia, and so on?
The nice thing about all this, Richard, is sold we never went out to sell.
Hmm.
you know you're right, people went to us,
Okay.
including our overseas development. Everybody came to us, and
Huh.
all of our partners, especially during the last 10 years, we realized these were our customers when they were in their grade schools. They were young.
Oh, I
These
see.
young guys, when we started in 1992, our first 5 years, are now our business partners, are now our franchisees. So I think that's the business model, or the loyalty factor that helped us, because we kept on going and going and going, and then turns out the next 20 years are now being run by our customers when they were young. They are now our business partners. So just keep on going, move on and move on. Don't think about, we never thought about doing overseas. We never thought about going to the United States. We never thought of going to Australia. It just happened. Like for
Okay.
example, in the USA, I just got a message from somebody. Dear Mr. Magsaysay, I finally found you. I've been wanting to start a business in the USA where I'm based, but because I studied in the Philippines, and I tried Potato Corner. I've been dreaming to put a Potato Corner here. Can I put a Potato Corner here? You know, a week later I was there, met with him, and we started Potato Corner after less than a year.
Is that
So
right?
now we have about 30 to 40 stores in the United States. I think 35 stores in the United States, and we're doing well in the United States in spite of the pandemic also. So
Hmm.
and then our partner Indonesia, where we have 120 more, 120 plus stores in Indonesia. You know, we got again a message, sir. I was a student in UST, an accounting student in
Sheesh.
UST. I was a fan of Potato Corner. I was there in the Philippines. Now I want to put Potato Corner here in Indonesia, and that's how it started. So our showcase has always been the product, and just keep on serving the same thing over and over again. A lot of people were saying, Joe, you have to do this. Joe, you have to add this. Imagine if we just added so many things in our menu, the flagship product would have been diluted. Today it's just
Yeah.
flavored French fries. It's still flavored French fries. In fact, 97% of our product mix in our stores are still flavored French fries.
Interesting. And Joe, the the future of Potato Corner, how big do you think it can be? I mean, are we still in the early stages of growth, or I mean, what can you imagine it could be, say 5 years, 10 years down the road?
Well, for the Philippines, we're looking at maybe 1,000 more stores.
Sure.
But we have that's why we're preparing the other brands so that when that saturation level comes to the Philippines, we're prepared to grow with the other brands already. So that's where that will come in, those other brands. Now for the international market, for the global market, we're looking at maybe a potential of 10,000 stores worldwide. And I'm excited that we're going into Bangladesh. I'm excited to go where nobody wants to go. It's like Star Trek, you know. We want to go where nobody has ever been before. So that's our mission, to be like Star Trek, to go where no one has ever been before. So we want to go to Uganda, we want to go to
Oh,
Kenya, we
wow.
want to go to
Gee,
where people are scared to go, you know, for different reasons.
that is just fantastic. And now, Joe, in a in many of these countries, are most of your franchises singly owned, meaning one person per franchise, or does a person tend to have, a dozen or more franchises?
What do you mean, Richard?
Well, like I think you mentioned once that you're going to start up in the Gulf region in the Middle East. Would that be one person who would have quite a number of individual franchises owned all by himself, or would there be separate people per franchise?
Well, we prefer to develop a partner.
Okay.
Sometimes it might be multiple partners, but the preference is to talk to one
Oh,
and help that person grow in that region.
I see. So he's a master franchisee then.
Can be a master franchisee or can be an area developer.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. And now, Joe, have you had experience? I mean, not everybody, I would say, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, but not everybody seems right to be their own entrepreneur. Many people are, but have you ever, am I wrong with that? Or are there only certain types of people who are entrepreneurs, or can everybody be an entrepreneur? What's been your experience?
You know, I think Richard, if you want to, I think entrepreneurship is a craft that you
Okay.
can learn, and I think everybody can be entrepreneurs as long as you master your craft. The natural evolution of a person who masters their craft will become an entrepreneur, because people will pay you because of your craft or because of your mastery. Even a painter just loves to paint. I'm
Yes.
sure a painter will never say, oh, I want to be a painter and be a billionaire and earn from my paintings. A painter just loves painting. But eventually somebody will just say, I want to buy your painting. I love that painting. Can I buy it? Then you sell it. Then that starts the evolution of becoming an entrepreneur. And if you don't realize that, I think it's time that everybody should realize that you have to master one thing first. That's why the one thing is, I always talk about one thing, because that one thing is your key to your growth, to the growth of your business, to the growth of whatever you're doing. Or it becomes the evolution of you becoming an entrepreneur. So that what I'm saying is anybody can become an entrepreneur as long as they master that one thing, so that people will start paying for that either service or that product you're doing, or for that skill that you have. People will pay for that.
Okay. Now, Joe, one thing I should ask you, some people, entrepreneurs sometimes have, they're very self-confident and have really good ideas, they think, about how, Potato Corner might change and, add this and change that. But I understand from the franchise model, you have a system that you've developed that works. How do you prevent people from changing, successful franchisees who want to change what you do? How do you manage those expectations?
Then the nice thing about that, although franchise, you set some templates, you set some boundaries on what your partners or franchises can do or not. But people don't realize Potato Corner is very flexible and very open to a lot of our partners telling us, Jomag, maybe we can do this. Jomag, maybe we can use this method or this strategy.
Okay.
Or maybe we can add this product in this country, or maybe we can use this flavor in this country, and we're open to all of that. And the reason for Potato Corner's overseas development is exactly that. We're open to all inputs of our partners, so that it becomes very relevant where they are. Like, for example, in Australia, we serve burgers in Australia.
Oh, really?
In the United States, we sell chicken wings. In Canada, we're going to launch, of course, because Putin is very popular in Canada. We have to launch Putin in Canada. So we're like that. We localize a lot of, in many ways we try to localize our menu and our tactical plans in each country.
I see. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Now, Joe, maybe if I could ask, some questions about yourself. How would you describe yourself? Are you an extroverted person? Are you really outgoing, or are you kind of quiet and shy? Were you good at school? Were you not so good at school? Did you follow the rules, or were you rebellious? How would you describe yourself, Joe?
Extreme introvert.
Oh, okay. Really?
I prefer to be alone. In fact,
Okay.
I had severe COVID pneumonia last December.
Oh, geez.
And I was in the room, in my hospital room alone, and I was fine with that. Not talking to anyone, not opening my social media. So I'm comfortable staying alone. But when I need to shift, because a typical day for me is talking to several franchisees or partners, talking about plans. So that's when I shift to being an introvert, to more engaged in communications with others. That's my role as the person running Potato Corner. And of course, I learned how to shift from being an introvert into becoming a partner, because I got used to it, and I learned it. Because if you look at the things that I do now, I don't have any business that I do alone. Everything I do are with partners, are with business partners, be it in Potato Corner, be it in other things.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, interesting. And Joe, now your parents, how did they raise you? Were they very strict? Were they easy to, you could do whatever you want? Did they have a business background? Did you learn from them? How would you describe that?
Well, I think I took it from both my parents and the people that I that I look up to. And I pick up a lot of things from several people. I'm like a sponge, who keeps on trying to learn. From my father, I learned how to fix things.
Okay.
His apprentice because my father was a mechanic.
Okay.
So we build engines, we build cars.
I see.
So tinkering, I love tinkering. I learned that from my dad. And my dad was also an introvert and very quiet. And I think I got that. I got my demeanor from him. My mother was strong and always the one doing things. I think my mom was the one who wore the pants in the family. So I learned that I got that strength from her. And then from the people Bing, Sammy, Tito
Yes.
Pardo, Manolo and Jess and all these people I look up to. I think I learned so many things of bits and pieces from them on how to run a business.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So Bing, Simbal Limhoko, Sammy Lim, I think,
That's
Jess
right.
Nick Dahl, is that who you meant?
Jess Montemayor, yeah, and
Oh,
Manolo Agustines.
oh yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay. Very good. And now, Joe, if I could ask you, you have some franchisees who are very successful, who do very well. Others have difficulty. What do you think are some of the key differences between the ones who do very well and the ones who have difficulty?
Well, there is always a mortality rate in franchising, and then when we looked at it, I think the ones that fall out are the ones who are not hands-on in their business.
Okay.
I think business, you have to be hands-on in any kind of business if you're an entrepreneur. And franchising is another form of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
A lot there is, I think, some people think that because I franchised, I don't have to do anything because the franchisor will help a lot. That's totally untrue.
Yes.
I think you franchise, you you skip several steps in starting a business. That's what makes you successful. But you still have to run the day-to-day operations of your business. And that's the secret to a successful franchisee is being hands-on in the business.
Okay. That's good advice. I think that would work for any business, in fact. You got to be hands on. Okay. And now, Jomar, there's a lot of sales experience. It's interesting to hear that you think of yourself as an introvert. Um, but many people think sales experience is important, or people experience. How important do you think that is in running, is either being a franchisee or in your own business?
How do you mean that?
Well, sales experience. I mean, seems like you are very good with people skills. You spend a lot of the day to people, but did you have to sell? I mean, early on, you had to convince people to join your franchise as opposed to going off and doing on their own and things like that. Or am I wrong, Joe?
Well, the thing is, we never had to sell. The
Okay.
product sold. The product sold itself. The
All right.
profit. The profit margin sold itself.
Okay.
So people just came to us, and because I was lucky because being an introvert, I never knew anything. So I'm lucky that Potato Corner sold itself. The product, the profit sold itself. So we're lucky that way, and we're thankful that way.
Yes, okay. And now motivation, Joe. When you have franchisees, do you need to motivate them, or do they come self-motivated? And within your team, how do you motivate your own people?
Well, I think being an entrepreneur, Richard, you have to have a lot of emotional quotient.
Yeah,
You asked me if I did well in school. I didn't. I was I was what
I
you
didn't either.
call just on the borderline of passing or failing
Okay.
in academics, and I think my teachers just passed me because they pitied me because one teacher cited me before, you know Mr. Magsaysay, I will pass because he's the only one in this room that doesn't copy.
I
So
see.
so, so I got by in school. I was just okay. So I would consider myself poor in academics, but I think the EQ is very important because then you start learning how to empathize with people, learning how to compromise, learning that you don't need a big ego to run things. You, you know, if you want, I think if you want to lead something, I think you have to throw pride, ego, and you have to be compassionate, and you have to empathize in all these things. And the more I have so many personal crises in my life, especially on my health. I had 5 brain surgeries in the
Oh,
last since 2014, 15,
oh,
16, 17, 18.
yeah.
So every year I had one brain surgery. I don't know if I'll get one. Well, last year I had severe COVID pneumonia, and
Oh,
then before then this year I don't know what's going to happen. So it's like every year I have a health crisis. So that only strengthens my the way I take care of people and take care of friends. That this all this health crisis only makes me appreciate what people do for me.
yeah. Wow. Okay. Very good, Joe. That's interesting. Now, Joe, what advice do you have for entrepreneurs, or do you give your franchisees and other entrepreneurs about money management? Sometimes when business people are new to their own business and they start to make some money, they spend it. Then when they need money to pay their rent or to order supplies or something, they don't have it and they get themselves into trouble. Do you help them manage those kinds of expectations, or are they able to handle it themselves?
Yes, we do, Richard.
Okay.
It's part of our franchise system. The
Okay.
way we handle the payment part, the supply part, the supply chain part, including the payment systems. We we make sure that we have a process for that so that they will be able to take care first of the business before they take care of their personal stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good for you. Um, and now, Joe, being in your own business, let's say for you yourself, a lot of people would have a question about how you managed, your family relationships while you're building a successful business. How do you, you know, how do you manage both sides? It's very difficult, I know.
That's it's difficult, and I didn't manage it properly.
Oh,
Uh, if I were to travel back in time, I'd change that part of my life. I'd change
oh, I
because
see.
I was so into making sure Potato Corner would succeed and grow. I didn't have time for my family.
I
Uh, that's the thing that I regret, and I hope all other entrepreneurs don't follow the mistake I made. I mean, and I see a lot of new entrepreneurs who are really doing a lot of things that they take care of their family, they spend time with their family, you know. So that thing, if I had the time machine, I'd go back to when I started my family and make sure I'd spend more time with the family.
Okay, good advice. I know other guys say Bert Lena, he has said a lot similar things, and it's a very difficult balance. But in any case, that's very good advice. And now, Joe, what would you say about, more and more people are talking about their health. You mentioned a little bit about, you know, but do you have a health plan that you follow, special eating? and exercise, because it's demanding on your health, working long hours like you do. How do you manage the health side of your life?
I don't, I just leave that to my doctors. So
Oh, you
I
do?
just
Okay.
I just eat anything, Richard, and I don't have any regular stuff. And I think what helped Potato Corner, the business, and some of the businesses that I run, is because I don't follow a pattern. Uh, and it's that kind of character that sets that is what I call the unfair advantage of Potato Corner franchise, because we don't follow some, well, short of saying we don't follow rules. We skirt in and out of the rules, or that's how we say, maybe a good way to say it, you're always on the cutting edge, because you're
Okay.
either sometimes you're within the law, sometimes you're not following the law. But uh and I think what I do outside work follows that kind of character, because if you look at what I do most, and since I'm an extreme introvert, all the things that I do are individual sports, not team sports. So I love sailing, I love archery, uh, I love dirt biking, and because I'm alone there, and then they're all extreme sports, and the way I do it are all extreme. So, for example, I go sailing when there's signal number two, typhoon signal number two. I go up the mountains and dirt bike when the rain is really bad. So I don't know if there's a death wish there, but that kind of character goes is also my training in my discipline in Potato Corner and the other businesses. So I risk a lot, but we keep on risking. Uh, but that risk is the reason why we're everywhere and why we're
Yes.
successful. And I think we just learn how to manage the risk. We never risk enough to to make our company financially in trouble. So our risks are very small risks, but they are risks that makes the difference between whether we're in the United States or we're not. It's a risk that makes us, are we now in Vietnam or not? So
Hmm.
those little risks sometimes we manage, and then sometimes we make mistakes. In fact, we make many mistakes, and I think with all these mistakes that we've done, very small mistakes, they're the ones that led us to where we're going now. I mean, running a company is like sailing. You just look at the end point and then just set your course, and then you course correct and course correct. There's never a straight line to where you're going.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay, really, really inspiring, Joel. I gotta say, I just, it really is. Now, Joe, everyone talking about the COVID thing and a lot of our events that we run, people talk about the changes that are going to take place when things turn back to normal. They won't be normal, there'll be something different. Are there any changes or transformations that you see happening for your business?
Well, definitely, Richard.
Okay.
This pandemic crisis now has impacted enough that before this crisis started, we're not into deliveries. Now 15% of our sales are in deliveries,
I
and that's
see.
significant as far as Potato Corner is concerned.
Yeah.
But the thing. And then, of course, last town hall meeting with our franchisees, I mentioned to them, we are here, your franchise or Potato Corner, to help you now, to start helping you now, so that your revenues don't come from the 4 square meters of your business. Your revenues will start coming from also outside your revenues, from your home, from your communities where you live. So those are the changes.
Interesting. Okay. So you mean digital sales as well and online payments, these kinds of things also, Joe?
That's right. More deliveries, community-based selling. Of
Okay.
course, very important are aside from community selling, direct selling.
I see. And what do you mean by direct selling, Joe?
Like for example, we're launching in partnership with Lapid's Chicharon.
Okay.
Uh, we're going to sell that, but the focus will be on direct selling.
Okay.
So that means our franchisees will be able to sell it in their communities, to their friends, wherever they are. So the business now is not contained anymore in the locations in their malls. The business now is going to where the people are.
I
Since people are
see.
not going to the malls today, we're going to where the people are.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. And Joe, for the future, what if we could talk about Philippines as a nation, as an economy? What do you think are some of the particular opportunities that Philippines has for the future? I know this is thinking bigger here, but what do you think about the nation's growth over the next 5 and 10 years?
I think the Philippines, just think of 2020 and 2021 as this dark dark times, and
Yes.
then uh, if you remove that, 2022 and onwards will continue 2019. So I think we just don't have to panic. If we should not make panic policies, panic decisions based on where we are now. Just make sure you're always together with people who are masters at what they do. And if you're around people who have masteries on different skills, and I think you'll stop to panic and you'll make the right decisions. A lot of people keep on saying it's time to pivot or time to diversify. But if you look at the business field, some people are they're diversifying or even pivoting beyond their core, and that's very dangerous. So
Mhm.
if you're just pivoting around your core or diversifying around your strength, I think you'll be fine after this pandemic.
Okay. Okay. And so you don't see any threats that the country has for the future. It looks like you're positive about the nation's future.
I think food supply is still a very dangerous,
Yeah. Okay.
really significant and critical issue that we always have to talk about. Uh, you know, I think seafood supply is going to be critical because of what's happening in South China Sea. And then we have to prepare for that. I think water is going to be a big issue in the next few years, supply
Hmm.
of water. So
Okay.
those are some of, so lot of new businesses to get into might be utilities
Okay.
and services. I think the Philippines and Filipinos in general are wonderful at service. And I think
Yes.
that's what sets Filipinos apart in their service in the Philippines and outside the Philippines. And we should realize we should actually strengthen our mastery in service, in how we service people, in how we service other countries, because the way we dominate the world is through service. And I
Yeah.
think that's the Filipino way. I think agri is going to be
Yeah.
there and other things are going to be there, but nothing can replace the way Filipino serves others.
It is, Joe. I've heard it over and over again from people from different countries about the BPO industry, tourism industry, and they always, as soon as they see a Filipino, they just it makes them happy that because they know they're going to be able to connect with the person, and they'll be well looked after. Joe, how about you? Your future? I mean, you've had a heck of a busy time over many years now, almost 30 years going since if you started in 92. Um, are you going to keep on going with no end in sight, or you think you'll slow down in the next few years?
Well, I've slowed I've slowed down.
Oh, you have? Okay.
After my first brain surgery, Richard,
Yeah.
I realized that I need to spend time with the family now. So in fact, 2019 I retired.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did, but my partners asked me to run the business again during this pandemic, so I
Oh,
did. How can I say no
no.
to a request like that? So I'm back running the business because I need to. My partners asked me to, and I will always try to help. But of course, we're looking for somebody who we're preparing a succession plan,
Okay.
and we're looking for someone to run the business.
That's going to be a difficult position to fill, Joe. um, Joe, your partners now. You still have your original partners that you started with?
Well, I have two of my original partners still with us,
Okay.
but the one passed away,
Oh,
and then the others sold out.
okay. Now, Joe, so that's quite an achievement. So you've had these partners with you for almost all of this time, 30 years almost.
That's right.
Is that right? Gee. So that's quite an achievement, I would say, to maintain a partnership relationships, wouldn't you say? Because many businesses get into trouble, Joe. You know, disputes between partners, the egos get in the way, and so forth. Maybe I can ask you about that. How did you prevent that from happening? How did you make sure you had solid relationships with your partners? I'm sure there was difficulties.
Of course.
Yeah.
In fact, when I left Wendy's, I got Titoy Pardo was president of Wendy's Philippines, shook
Okay.
my hands. You know what he told me? I didn't understand what he meant by that time, but when he shook my hand, he said, "Okay, good luck, Jomag. Just be careful. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard having partners." I
Good
didn't
advice.
realize what he meant by that time in 1992. So, so 2 years after we started Potato Corner, we started having friction with the partners.
Yeah.
The last thing what we did was talk about divorce or parting ways.
Oof.
First thing we talked about is getting somebody to help us resolve our differences or that friction. So we
Good.
hired a professional person to be chairman of the board and CEO. So that person taught us the difference between being business partners, being friends, and then so we're good with that. So they were able to change. So we learned. And then eventually there was some other friction again. Turns out we learned this time that we learned now because we got fresh board independent directors. I can't talk how much important
Okay.
independent directors are in the board, because they really help everybody. Uh, so our independent directors taught us there's a difference between being in the board, being a shareholder, being in management. So you have to realize those differences. And then we also realized that although you have partners in every business, there should be only one head, because
Okay.
more two or more heads is a monster. I mean, there's so there cannot be more than one head. So you just have to trust somebody to lead the company or to run the company. So those things are important. And my advice to a lot of startups when they're starting with partners is not to tell them be careful about being partners. No, I think partnership is good. Potato
Okay.
Corner will not be like the way it is if all four of us partners or five of us partners didn't help each other. But it's so hard to put up your own business alone. Imagine. But Potato
Yes.
Corner was lucky because we had 4 and 5 partners who helped the company grow. So during those difficult startup times, when we were trying to fly to let the company fly, one took care of accounting and finance, one took care of operations, one took care of marketing. So it was complete
I see.
until we were able to hire people ready to take over those parts of management. It's very important that when I help startups is to say, especially if they're partners, let's organize your board first. that's the first thing you should do.
Okay, that's very good advice. So outside events, advice and independent, what did you call them? Board members,
Directors, yeah.
directors. Okay. Okay. Joe, that was a very good session and a very interesting conversation with such an interesting fellow. You know, we've followed you for a while, and we've always heard really good things about you. So it was really, really nice to spend some time with you, Joe. And please, so keep well, keep healthy. I know everybody says this, but we all have to, you know, neither of us are spring chickens, you know, we both got to watch our health, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Richard. I enjoyed this session of yours, and you're great. And hope for more success on your part. And I hope we talk again soon. Talk about where to go. I think that's very important in the discussions always, and not today, but where we're going.
It is, Joe, and you really are quite an inspiration. I mean, everybody's talking about you, and it's really quite an achievement. I mean, I just can't say it enough. I don't want to, but again, thank you, Joe, or Joe Mag. I know that's your proper what people call you. So really appreciate the time with you, and please keep well and keep well healthy and your business. So thank you again, Joe Magsaysay, everyone.
Same to you, Richard, and thank you too.
So thank you, everyone. That was Going Deep with me, Richard Mills, and we had Joe Magsaysay for just a remarkable story and a remarkable person, growing his business throughout the world. And I got to say, making Philippines proud. It really is something. So thank you again. That was Going Deep with me, Richard Mills, with Joe Magsaysay. Thank you.